Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Leadership Satsang. I'm your leadership coach, Yukti Kapoor Mehndiratta. Thank you so much for joining me live. Today, we're going to talk about how to make these difficult situations and deal with these difficult people easy. A lot needs to be learned in terms of some of the strategies that we can use, some mindset shifts that we need to bring in so that we can learn how to deal with these difficult people or difficult situations. But before we do that, it's important that we bring ourselves to this present moment. And the way we do that is by chanting Om. Om, as I've shared earlier as well, is a complete word in itself. It helps us to connect and align with the universal energy around us with no religious connotation to it whatsoever. When we are chanting Om, we are combining three syllables together: A, U, M. The way to chant is to take a nice deep breath in and out a few times. And then with the next breath in, as we take in the breath, while breathing out, we start the chant Om. Till midpoint, we say Ooh, and from mid till the end, till you can exhale, you will say Now, the right way to do that is when, while chanting Om, you can feel vibrations running from your Hara, which is the chakra below your navel, till your third eye, which is right at the center of your forehead. If you can feel the vibrations within, running through these chakras, is when you know that you're reciting it in the right way. So allow the voice to come out a bit. Allow a little bit of throw of voice. Don't say let it come out so that you can feel those vibrations from within. Are you ready to do it? Welcome, welcome, Kiran, Kailash, Milan. Are you ready? Just give me a ready in the chat box, in the comments, and I will know that you're absolutely ready to bring yourself in here 100% into this moment. Deepak, so good to have you here. Bharat, ready? Everyone's ready? Let's get started. Please close your eyes and forget whoever else is around and whatever else needs to be done after this. You're here right now, and so it only makes sense that you hear completely. Let's close our eyes. If you're wearing glasses, you can keep them aside because there is nothing to see. To see the inner world, we don't need eyesight. We need the mind to be there with you in that moment. So let's prepare ourselves to bring in that experience. Let's close our eyes and take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. If there's anything tight around your waist, please loosen it up for a bit if you can, and allow a nice deep breath to come in and breathe out. And with the next breath in, we'll chant together 5 times. Let's take a nice deep breath in again. Just be with these vibrations for a little while. And whenever you're ready, rub your palms till you feel some warmth between your palms, and then place them gently on your eyes, and ears, and face, and neck, and shoulders, and your entire body, and slowly come back. How do you feel? How do you feel right now? Let's have some sharing in the comments. Are you in this moment? And as you share that you are, please also share which part of the world you're in right now. Where are you in this moment? Which part of the world? Let's have that in the comments quickly. Let me see. Welcome, Shiva. Milan, so good to have you. Joseph, good to have you here. Nice, Kiran. Wonderful. I'm glad you liked it. Anytime, you don't know what to do and you think that everything is just slipping out of my hands and I'm not able to get a grip on what's happening, just close your eyes and chant Om. Because that's what helps us to connect with those answers to the many questions you have. While you wait for somebody else to give you the right answers, the answers only lie within you. And the access to that is through this chant. So my strong recommendation would be to practice this every day, minimum 10 times. But I would say go on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you can. And this, you will feel trance. This will just take you to a level of trance when you are not in that beta wave anymore. The let's do something, what to do next. There's always doing and the need to do. It's important that we learn how to be. Because if you learn how to be, then there is a lot more meaning to what you do, no matter what it is. And it makes sense to have more meaning behind whatever we do, isn't it? So here is a way to do that. Just chant and bring yourself into the moment. Shiva from Mumbai, Premraj is feeling good. Krishna from Vizag, wonderful. Good to have you here. Kiran from Pune. Very good evening to everyone here joining me from India. This is 8:07 Indian Standard Time right now, and a good time for us to equip ourselves with some skills. The skill to deal with difficult people. So let me start by asking you all, have you met some difficult people in your life? Give me a yes in the comments. Ritika, you've met some difficult people in your life? Yeah? Whatever you call difficult as, like whatever is difficult for you, you've met some difficult people. Malar, good to have you here. Tell me, give me a yes in the comments that you've met some difficult people, right? And I want you to invite these people in your mind today as I take you through 5 strategies to deal with 5 types of difficult people. Will that be nice? Right? So we're going to invite all these characters in our mind. Now, some of these characters are in your life probably right now. Some are thankfully not in your life anymore. You've kind of gone beyond them and beyond that. But it's still an important learning to know what could you have done better? How could you have dealt with those situations in a better way? Even if those people are not there with you, because a difficulty or a difficult person could always be just around the corner. So we need to always up our game, which means be proactively prepared instead of being reactive, instead of reacting to situations. How about being proactive and preparing ourselves before such a situation happens? If you're there already, fantastic. This is perfect timing. Wonderful. So now that I know you've met some difficult people, I'm going to open up the 5 categories I will elaborate today. And for each category, I want you to think of a name. Think of a character who represents that category for you. It might not be somebody who's always behaved in this manner, but if you've had any episode with any person, right, related to this category, I want you to make a note of it. Write down the name of that person in your notebook. Ready? So let's look at the first category. If the other person is aggressive and disrespectful, has anybody been aggressive and disrespectful with you? If yes, then write the name of that person in your notebook right now and say, got it, in the chat for me. I don't want to know the name, but I want you to say, got it. Got it means you've been able to think of this one situation or this one person who was aggressive and who was disrespectful to you in that moment, on that day. Got it? You got someone like that in your mind? Think, Bhagyashree, think somebody who's been aggressive and very disrespectful. And so you think this is a very difficult person to deal with. Yeah, Shreya, you got it? Yeah, got it. Shiva's got it. Wonderful. Bhavya's got it. Super. Now, the second character. The second character is someone who has had an explosive outburst. It could be someone from your personal space or professional space, right? We are people. People are people. So there is no demarcation that these strategies work for you in your personal space and this cannot work in professional. Aisa kuch nahi hai. Everything works everywhere because we are dealing with people and people are people, right? So if you learn how to deal with people here, we will be able to deal with people there. That's how it is. So the second category is what? People who've had an outburst with you, an explosive outburst. And again, we are not labeling these people as people who have explosive outbursts all the time. There are moments, right? And sometimes the best of us lose it. And we have no control over how we are behaving. And we create that experience for somebody else. Right now, I'm only inviting you to think about someone else from your life who's created such an experience for you so that we can learn ways to deal with such people in a better manner. Got it, Bhagyashree? You've got the second character. Okay, the third character is somebody who doesn't want to listen to your part of the story. Just doesn't want to listen to your perspective. Just no. Talking, shouting all the time or non-stop in that situation, not willing to listen to your side of the story. You got one, say got one now. Say got one. Or say got three, actually. Because this is the third character, say got three. So that for the next two, you can say got four and got five. So got three. Shiva, you got three. Got three is the third character who is not willing to listen. I'm going to tell you how to make them listen to you. Got it? Okay. The fourth character that we will learn to deal with is somebody who assumes that the situation cannot get better. That's it. They've decided that we are going down to the dumps and this is how it is. There is no getting out of this muck. It's not going to get any better. And they're very close to listening to any ideas, leave alone coming up with ideas themselves. If you've got such a person in your mind right now, say got four. Got four? Once you have these people in your mind, then these strategies will become easier to remember. And I want you to remember them because only then will they come handy. When you are in that situation, you can't go back to the books or to the notes and see, okay, what was the best way to deal with this person? I know, I remember I attended Yukti's session that time and she talked sense and I don't know how to bring it in here. It has to be part of your system. And for that, you need to give a face to the learning. And these are the faces that we are talking about. I am not saying that they are completely at fault. In fact, there are a few disclaimers I'm going to start with. Before I tell you how to deal with them, there are a few things we need to do to deal with ourselves. But before that, let's just place these people onto the categories. The last one is when somebody is uncommunicative. You are just not able to talk to this person. Just absolutely uncommunicative. Maybe they just stop talking completely. Maybe they stop responding to what you are saying. Like absolutely numb and indifferent. No reaction coming from them. Right? So you think that you're hitting your head against the wall and you don't know how to get through this. This is also difficult. A difficult person is not necessarily someone who's abusive and aggressive. It can also be somebody who's just not receptive. Isn't that difficult to deal with? Somebody is just not receptive to what you have to say. Just uncommunicative. How do you deal with such a person? There is a way. And I'm going to share that with you. Radio silence. Yeah, you got it, Shiva. Got five. Deepak, you got it? Hi, Thiru. Good to have you here. I hope you're placing these characters in your mind. Let's be playful about it, guys. You know what? Life is not as serious as we make of it. It's fun and it's funny. Really funny. If you feel any dearth of humor in your life, don't go looking for stand-up comedy shows. Just become an observer to yourself and you will see how good a stand-up you are. Honestly. You do a fab job, just that you don't amuse yourself because you're not observing yourself. You're just getting sucked into the dramas that you create every day, every time. And the more you learn to observe, the more you will be amused with your own humor. And that's actually called sense of humor. Sense of humor is our ability to laugh at our own selves, not at other people, right? Sense of humor is not easy to develop. It requires a lot of humility, a lot of self awareness, more than wit. More on that some other day. Let's look at these difficult people that we need to learn to deal with. All right. So here are the 3 disclaimers that I want to share with you before I tell you how to deal with them. The first thing is to remember that no one wants to be difficult, isn't it? Nobody leaves their house and their beautiful families behind to come to office or any business environment and become a difficult person to somebody else. No, nobody wants to do that. So what we need to practice and learn and remember as leaders is to focus on the intention of the other person. Now listen to this. When we learn communication, whenever I put out any course or webinar or workshop on communication, I always start by saying that communication is more about the how of it than the what of it. What you say comes in later. How you say it matters a lot more, which is your body language, your voice tonality. And Albert has actually given a number to that. Albert Maravin says 93% of our communication is nonverbal. It's only 7% of words that really matter. However, when you turn it around, when you become the receiver, who's a leader, remember this, right? A leader who's a receiver. And as a receiver, you notice that the other person is just not focusing on the how. Has he not attended Yukti's sessions to talk this way and is focusing on the what again and again and telling me, you know what, don't tell me how I'm talking, listen to what I'm saying. होता है ना ऐसे, sometimes you're fighting in a relationship और आप दोनों aggressive हैं और आप दोनों एक दूसरे को बोल रहे हैं कि अरे भाई stop pointing fingers at me telling me that I'm rude, listen to what I have to say. But that person is not in a position to listen because your how is so terrible, unless that person is a leader like you, because that person then has trained himself or herself to go beyond the how and focus on the what. Focus on your intention to behave in this manner. This difficult you that you are becoming right now is in this moment. So a leader like you will not place a label on that person's head as saying this is a difficult person. What you will look at is somebody who's acting difficult in a situation by focusing on their intention. That's the first thing to keep in mind. The second thing is examine what could be your contribution to make this situation the way it is. As somebody said in comments a while back, that it's very easy to blame other people. It's very difficult to see how have I contributed to this. Because if there is one thing that our mind loves the most and survives on is the need to be right. And a lot of my spiritual leadership students are here in this session today. So I know they understand exactly what I'm saying because we spend a lot of time in this one-year program to learn how to become an observer to ourselves and how to catch ourselves contributing to the dramas that we experience. So that's the second point to remember. Whatever is the situation, please know that you have also contributed to it. It's time to now examine how. And the third important thing to keep in mind is to question whether you are operating from assumptions or facts. Whatever you're thinking about or whatever you're reacting to, is that basis an assumption or is there some fact behind the way you are thinking and feeling? More often than not, you will realize that even those facts are not facts but assumptions. So you need to be willing to challenge yourself and be challenged by others before you react to somebody's reaction. Because when you react to a reaction, the only possibility is a downward spiral. Correct? ईंट का जवाब पत्थर से, पत्थर का जवाब बड़े पत्थर से, और उससे भी बड़े पत्थर से. There is no end to it. So you will just keep getting worse. The competition is who can be worse than the other. And if that is what's going on, then you can imagine the end of this story, right? It's not a happy ending. Happy ending happens when one of us decides to be the bigger person. When one of us elevates ourselves from the drama to becoming an observer of the drama and then bringing in some strategies to deal with this drama without participating in it. Because the moment you participate is when you are pulling the situation downhill. It's a downward spiral. If you need to create an upward spiral, you need to do a few things differently. So I'm going to share with you today what can you do differently to deal with these 5 characters. Maybe you've placed all 5, fantastic if you have. If you haven't, then it's still important to make a note of it, because life is very, very interesting and mysterious, and you never know what kind of situations are in store. What you can know is how to prepare yourself in a better way. Okay, so if you are ready to learn these strategies, then you say BIO in the comments, which is what? Bring it on, UP. Tell us how to deal with these characters, these bulldozers, right? These painful people who get the worst out of me. I'm not so bad. I'm a very good person. But when people behave this way, then you know what? I'm a no nonsense person as well. You give me SH asterisk asterisk, I give you sh asterisk asterisk back. Okay, and that's not how leaders deal with such situations. There are better ways to do it, and I'm going to share with you exactly what that is. Wonderful. Since you insist, let me bring it on. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to go through all the strategies very, very quickly, because that's all the time we have. In the next 10 minutes, I want you to make a note of these strategies. As you go through them and understand them, when I elaborate upon it, keep that character in your mind. You got it? Right? So whatever is that first character, keep that person in your mind, keep that situation in your mind, even if it's from the past, and see how such a strategy can be implemented and what different results it could have given you had you known or learned this earlier. And now that you're learning this, you're equipping yourself to deal with such situations of people better, in a better way. Okay, so let's get started. The first character is somebody who is aggressive and disrespectful. Okay, if the other person is aggressive and disrespectful, the worst thing to do is to give them a reaction, because the moment you give them reaction, you're giving them food for more drama, right? A bigger drama is on its way. So what is the first thing you need to do? You need to command respect for yourself by remaining calm. Only someone who has control on himself or herself, who knows how to manage his or her emotions, is the one who can claim to be a leader. Otherwise, you could be a vice president or an XYZ or a director or blah blah of any company, and let that be the Googles of the world. But if you haven't learned how to manage your emotions, then you're only playing a leadership role. You're not a leader as yet. A leader is somebody who knows how to be calm in the worst situations. There is turbulence everywhere, but the only way to deal with turbulence is to be calm yourself. So you will not give a reaction to that reaction. You will command respect for yourself by staying calm in this situation. Let that person pop around like a popcorn. Okay? You're just going to enjoy the show. You're going to stay calm. And then interrupt these verbal attacks that are happening on you by repeating that person's name. Right? Manish, I hear you. Manish, I'm trying to understand. So call out that name again and again. These strategies are coming from human psychology perspective. So just take it on face value. Trust me, it works, right? So just start taking that person's name and interrupt these verbal attacks. And then your communication will be to the effect of this bottom line, which says, you know what? When you're ready to speak to me with respect, I will take all the time you want to discuss this problem. I'll say this again. When you're ready to speak to me with respect, I will take all the time to discuss this problem or this situation with you. I'm right here. Whenever you're ready to talk to me with respect, we will discuss this, is what you will say calmly. This is how you bring the aggression down. This is how you stop somebody from disrespecting you. And let me tell you this, nobody has the license to disrespect anybody, even if you are 100% right. You are so right that you think nobody can prove you wrong. Even then, you have no license, no right to disrespect anyone else, because respect begets respect. And disrespect is a sure shot way to lose respect for yourself. Simple as that. right? So if the other person is not aware of this and they disrespect you, this is what I would want you to do. That's how we deal with character number 1, aggressive and disrespectful. Now let's look at a situation where the other has an explosive outburst. It's explosive outburst. How do you deal with that? There's like a full-on drama happening on the floor, right? This person is screaming and shouting from the rooftop. What you need to do is to take a break and then continue the discussion, the conversation. How do you take a break? Physically move out of that space. Just say, I just want to excuse myself. I'll be back in a minute. Or if you can grab some water and drink it up. Or if you're standing for a long time, sit down for a bit. Create a physical disruption. Create movement for yourself in that moment so that you take that time to calm down and gather your energies you need to deal with the situation. Then get the person's attention by waving your arms and calling their name loudly enough to be heard. Why loud? Because this person is already shouting, like at a 100 decibel level, right? Now you got to go beyond that. How do you go beyond that? You've got to shout out a little louder, not to shout back at him or her, but to shout out their name so that when they hear their name, they're able to come back to their senses and they're able to calm down. So you will say, Manish, I get it. I'm with you. I'm listening. And let them come down. Then express genuine concern for this person, saying, you know what, Ajay or Manish, nobody should make you feel this way. I want to help. I want to understand. What did we do so wrong that's making you feel? I'm feeling so bad that you're feeling this way, that you're so upset. Right? And you should not be upset. Nobody should be this upset about anything. So what are you doing? You're empathizing without apologizing because you're not yet clear about what to apologize for. Right? Now, here's a situation where because the other person claims to be right and is shouting, doesn't necessarily convince you to be wrong. So you might still think that, you know what, I'm also right, but just because I'm not shouting louder than this one doesn't make me wrong. I'm not going to apologize. And I know that I'm not operating from my ego. If that's true, then I don't need to apologize. I can still empathize. I can still say that it makes me feel bad to see you going through this. What you're going through. You don't deserve this. Just let's talk it out. You got that? I want you to try this before you tell me this worked or didn't work. Let's try this out. Play with it. Like I said, life is a play. Be playful and see what comes your way and how easy some very difficult and complicated situations can get. Third character is somebody who doesn't listen to your side. Just not willing to listen. Go into the conversation prepared to support your own perceptions and ideas, which means go well prepared with all the facts to support your point of view so that you can make more logical arguments when you are with this person who's not willing to listen to you otherwise. Redirect the person to your idea or information using phrases. I'm going to give you the power of language. Use this language and see how the other person can be more receptive than otherwise. So you could say things like, I was just wondering if we can look at this situation in a different way. Or bear with me for a minute, but I wanted to share with you how I'm looking at this situation. Or what do you suppose we could do if not this approach that you're suggesting? What do you suppose we could do other than this? So what you're doing is you're using phrases which are called as, these phrases are called as verbal softeners. You're creating space for argument and disagreement while maintaining respect for the other person. Okay, so phrases like, I was just wondering, bear with me for a minute as I explain my point of view, or what do you suppose could be a reason why this is working and that is not, or what I'm sharing might not work. These are some of the phrases you could start your argument with. And then acknowledge that the person who you're talking to possesses valuable knowledge as well. You're not the only one who understands the subject or the topic. The other person also has some understanding. And it's important that we remember that before we get stuck and lock our horns with who's right. I'm right, you're right. When you get stuck here, there is no way out. So how do we avoid this situation? Is when we are mindful of the fact that I'm not the only expert here. There are other people and they have a head above their shoulders. They understand what they're saying and I should be receptive to that too. The fourth character. assumes that the situation can't get better. That's it. We are doomed. We are going down south. There is no recovery. That's how it is. And so now this person is closed. I want to revive the situation, but here is somebody who's just not willing to give it a consideration. Give the person time to consider your plan and get back to you, which means what? Don't insist that we will resolve the situation right now. Say, this is a way out, is how I feel, this is what I think. Let's mull over it and reconnect tomorrow. Give them time to think about it. Bring up and address the negative aspects of an idea before the other person does. What does that mean? If there is a situation which is bad and this person is already telling you that it can't get worse, gaya ye gadde mein bilkul, this is gone, you be the one to say, you know what, the situation is quite bad and these are the 5 reasons why I think the situation is terrible. But I was thinking we could revive this by looking at it in this manner, or by bringing in this person, or by using this strategy. Let's think about it a bit, maybe overnight, and reconnect tomorrow. So what you're doing is you are confirming to them that you understand where they are and what they see. And yet there is another perspective that you're just placing on the table. You're not saying you cracked it. You're just saying, let's consider this. And then you give the other person some time before you reconnect and take this further. And if somebody is absolutely uncommunicative, just not willing to talk, no response, no nothing, that's when you need to have a little more time handy with you. You know, this person is a wall. And if I have to pierce through the wall, I need a little more time for this person. I need to schedule more time to respond to your ideas and questions. Whatever your ideas are, whatever your questions are, this person will not promptly respond to anything. You've got to give them more time. A good strategy is to ask them open-ended questions so that they are compelled to share their views. Do not use right, wrong, yes, no, true, false, close-ended questions. Open-ended questions like, what are you thinking? How do you want to proceed? Where should we go from here? What do you think? What should be our next step? And lastly, gaze expectantly at the person for a longer than usual period of time after making a comment or asking a question. Means what? When you ask a question like, what do you think? Allow some silence to come in. Give them a little more time to respond. Don't immediately fill the silence. So what do you think? And let them respond. And give them a little more time to do that. And let them be the one to break the silence. You won't do that. They will do that. And it has to eventually happen. You just need to hold on to it for a little longer and bring in the patience. So now is my time to ask you that question. What do you think about the strategies that I have shared with you to deal with difficult people? People who are not difficult as who they are, but can act in a difficult way, which makes it difficult for us to achieve what we want to achieve together. I would love to know from you if this was a useful session, if you enjoyed this satsang, if you're taking away something from this session, and if you think these are useful strategies that can be practically applied in your day-to-day life as you meet these characters hiding anywhere and everywhere in the world around us. I would love to know your experience of bringing these strategies to life. So please put that in the comments on LinkedIn. If you're here right now or if you watch it later, would love to know how this is helping you out, and would also love to know any other question or challenge that you're facing in the space of leadership and spirituality. Allow me as your coach to guide you through that. Put your questions to me on email, yukti@sbyacademy.com is my email address, and I always look forward to hearing from you all. I'll be back with another very relevant question asked by one of you leaders out there next Tuesday, sharp at 8 o'clock Indian Standard Time. Till then, please take good care of yourself. God bless you.